In this chapter, we are going to explore the dashboard collaborations available at the Einstein Analytics Designer layer. For that, we're just going to dive deep into the features that relate back to the original word we used in chapter 1 about cases. Tips, 5 tips that will help you establish adoption, higher rates of adoption of the project itself and the Einstein Analytics assets. So for collaboration, if we go look at the dashboard we have been designing, there are few of these features that are available as part of the Einstein Analytics license. Now, these are not necessarily under the permissions, except few of them, for example, downloading the data. But these are features available in the dashboard, and it is the job of the dashboard designer to tell the users how to use them or let them know that these features are available for them. Let's start with the first one. At a high level, the dashboard itself in preview mode, so example from a consumption from the end users, they can share this dashboard by hitting on this button. And they can give access to it, they can post to feed, obviously with using Chatter. They can get the URL, including the specific view, which is specified in the URL itself, and we'll take a look at it later on. And also download. And the dashboard at this stage in the product, you can download it, all of it as one piece as an image from here, or you can hit the 3 dots here and go to the print, which will give you a PDF friendly version of the dashboard to print out. Now the other collaboration features, let's start with the widgets themselves. So again, I am an end user, and this is very important because one dashboard designer designs a dashboard to be consumed by all the users out there, whether they're 50, 500, or 5,000 users. So it's one dashboard. Now, from the user's end perspective, they're consuming this dashboard. Let's say I look at this widget and I say I want to be alerted, notified. So from this drop down, I can hit set notification and notify me, for example, when sum of amount is equal or let's say greater than 76 million in this case. Or if you want to try it out, just put 5, for example, just for the exercise, so you get the email. And because this is an exercise, you might want to check notify me only the first time conditions are met, and this way it doesn't repeat. If in production, you might want to schedule this, when to run, every week, every day, etc., to get that notification. I'm going to hit notify me only once, that's fine, save. FYI, the notifications per user are 10, limited to 10, so just to let you know. The reason that the end user specifies the condition, so for example, I've set this condition for the whole dashboard, the whole amount. And as you can see here, the criteria is only close date this quarter. Now someone else, I'm going to hide the notification, might say, I don't care about the whole dashboard, I only care about California, for example, or let's say Montana in this case, or sorry, Oregon. And if I go to set notification, in this case, I can see that the criteria is different. It takes into consideration that the billing state is Oregon. And that's why it's the end consumer who sets these notifications, not the designer of the dashboard. There are a few cases where users have come back and asked us about, okay, some of my managers or CXOs do not even log in and I need to set it up for them. Well, you can log in as their users and run the dashboard as them and set the notification. They will get the emails. So that is alerts or notifications. Also, they are available on the mobile. So make sure you are using this feature, again, because you're paying for the license and you should be using this feature. The other one is Annotate. So again, within the same widget, I can annotate. And annotation is simply to share the information, whether I am in a meeting, I am capturing or we are capturing some information, we want to add mention groups immediately. For example, this user, and check this out. And even I can attach current screenshot or not. Let's say I attach it, share it, now it's available on Chatter. And if I'm following this, I will get also the notification. And to check this, you can go back, for example, to the Sales Cloud from Chatter, and I should see that right here. The post is right here available. So that's one feature, Annotate. Maybe another one is you are collaborating with the end users or multiple designers and you're adding comments. You're still in a dev stage and you want to add and track down the notes right here. So definitely annotation, use it, especially if you're using Chatter in your org. Then we have the share. The share feature allows you to download the widgets individually. Now, notice the download options are a little bit different here. You have more than image, you have Excel format and CSV. And this is where some users choose to download some of the data set data as CSVs using the widgets. Now, if I go to this widget, for example, the one grouped by opportunity name and amount, if I say download as CSV, I'm only going to get 2 columns, right? Because this is grouped by opportunity name, so that's something on the step, and the opportunity amount itself. That's it. So users do pick sometimes go to the tables themselves. Let me refresh this. If I go down, they go to the values table and choose to download the values table because the values table is downloading all of the columns themselves and the rows. So all 4 columns, all 4 fields at the row level, grain level, no group by. Now you have to be aware of one thing about values tables. They are not grouped by. Later on there's a chapter about step types. We talk about the values table as a special step type, the grain level, which means if I double click on this in the edit, and you will see that the tables by default are limited to 100 rows. If you go to the advanced cycle, you'll see they are 100. Again, just for performance reasons, we assume the users are not going to scroll more than 100 on a dashboard. Of course, the interface is not just limited to 100, it's whatever I choose on the dashboard. So some users might say, okay, I want to download, I have these 10 fields or 15 fields, I want to download more than 100. You have the option to edit the query limit and raise it up to 10,000 in the UI. 10,001, it will flag out, 10,000 is okay. So 10,000 rows, still doable. Depending on the width of the table, it should still be doable. However, the recommendation is if you are going to design a widget specifically for downloading purposes, you better off creating this widget separately as its own lens or in another dashboard that just says download data. The reason is this can be your main dashboard used by a lot of end users out there. And few of them want to download. So you don't want to affect the whole performance of the dashboard just because of the requirement to download some of the data. So if this is up to 10,000 or even more, then the whole dashboard performance might be affected. So you're better off create a separate dashboard just for downloading purposes with that widget alone. And then it's up to the users to run that dashboard without affecting this main dashboard. The last thing about the values table downloading, you do have the option to, and again, this is not highly recommended, but if you are, depending on the number of the columns or fields you have, you do have the option here to go even above 10,000. You can type 50,000, for example, 100,000, run the query, and this will run. Right now, this is probably picking the whole 706 rows that we had, all the way down to 706. Now, the only problem or issue you might face there is depending on your browser, the data set size, width, and pretty much because it's up to your personal machine now downloading the whole data. So some cases you will see up to 100,000, the browser takes maybe, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then it will error out. So again, it's not highly recommended. It's still a way if you want to go there. Just test it multiple times and see what is the right number of rows. Because you can always slice it by different widgets, different values tables by different divisions or filters or whatever criteria you can have. So that's from collaboration perspective, from downloading. Downloading does need a permission on the permission sets and the settings. We talk about that also later on. And let's see if we forgot anything else. This is from the preview. This is from the widgets. Remember, it's always in the view mode, not in the edit mode. The last thing is the explore. This is also kind of touches on self-exploration, to be honest. And the idea is, think about this dashboard was built again for many users. And then one particular user says, you know, I look at this by state, but I really need to know also by stage. I don't have to wait to go back to the designer, send an email or wait. I can immediately click on the drop down, go to explore, and it opens the familiar lens mode where I can choose to change the chart, for example, and add stage and get my answers without waiting for anyone else to give me that answer. Now I can save this as my own lens. Let's say, you know, 1, just to have it there, and voila, I got my answer. This is very important from self-exploration perspective, because this is where I'm not limited by the pre-designed dashboard and I can continue exploring on my own. Obviously, this is on desktop and on mobile devices, same thing, you can explore. Now, sometimes users will ask to disable this exploration behavior. So again, you click on the widget. As you scroll down the widget properties, you are going to see these 2 checkboxes. One is show the widget actions. That was the drop down with the notifications, annotate, etc. And the other one with show explore actions. So this is something you can uncheck. Let me select this one. I will uncheck both. So when I go to preview mode, there's nothing here. Nothing shows up. Under collaborations, one more thing we want to talk about is views. Not necessarily it's a direct collaboration feature, but also it's a helpful way to get to your view of the data faster. And you can share it because we can share the link with the view ID. So views are pretty much, again, around the idea that this is dashboard. This dashboard is consumed by many users. We cannot customize it per each user. And let's say I only care, again, about Oregon, for example. So I select Oregon, that's my data, and maybe I just want to care about electronics or technology. I'm trying to find something that has data. Let's say this is media. And this is it. Every time I come to this dashboard, I always want to do these 2 or 3 clicks. So instead of repeating the clicks, I can, from the drop down now, notice that it says modified. I can save this view as Z, Oregon, for example, and media. And I can create or make this my default value. Once I create it, it's a view. Not only it's only my view. Let's say I was doing some investigative work, clicked on many clicks here, and I want to share the view where I got to this particular results. I can click on the share button and again get the URL, and you will notice in the URL, the last bit actually contains the view ID. So when I send it to the other users, they will see exactly my clicks and how I'm looking at the data. Of course, assuming they have the same security level from a data row perspective and access to the dashboard. We will cover this under the security chapter.
Now, there are a few more things about collaboration that we can talk about, and I'm going to use this new dashboard to talk about subscriptions, subscription to tables, learn or onboarding, where you can add a video to a widget dropdown to know more about it, and even watch list. Let me start with subscription. So similar to notifications, you can click on the drop down and you can see subscribe right here, subscriptions, or from here. And the first time you use subscription, when you click on subscribe, you're gonna get the subscription schedule, which is either a daily or on a weekly, a certain time. And I'll show you this in a bit because I've done this before. But after you've set it one time, when you go to the widgets on any dashboard and you want to subscribe, you're going to get something like this because you've already activated the subscription, and you get one subscription. You can add the widgets to that subscription service. Again, from subscription service, we're talking about getting an email on a scheduled basis where it has that information. So for example, I click on this, I can say, this is my closed opportunity count, and I'm just subscribing to this. So now I have one. Now, if I had, for example, a widget in another dashboard, I would go there and I will also subscribe it to the same kind of subscription and so forth. You can also do things like subscribe the same widget, different filters, again to the same subscription. Now, where is the actual subscription? Well, you go back to Analytics Studio and you can see under subscriptions right here under Analytics on the left side, I have one subscription, and if I click on the drop down here, I can see the edit, and this is where it was already enabled. I can only disable it, so it's not there anymore, or enable. I can schedule the frequency weekly on a certain day, let's say on Monday 6 a.m. in the morning before I get in or get online, or if I want it on a daily basis. Again, for example, I'll see all of the subscribed widgets here. And the end result, in my email, I will get something similar to this. Now, this is a print preview of my email, but again, if you get the idea, you're going to get Einstein Analytics subscriptions, your Einstein Analytics subscriptions as a title, and you're going to get all the widgets and the information from those widgets, and you can even click directly on the widget. It will take you to the org. If you're not logged in, you have to log in, but if you have SSO or something, or you've already logged into it, it should take you directly to that org, directly to that dashboard in that org. Now that's for subscriptions. And the one more thing about subscriptions actually is subscriptions to tables. So again, we could and can subscribe to widgets, but if you scroll down here, we have also subscriptions to tables. Now that is a little bit different. And the reason it's a little bit different, and you can again subscribe. And actually, I'll show you why I don't have subscription here under the drop down, because subscription to tables has a different permission. So if I scroll, let me go to this page right here. If you go to permission sets, you are going to notice that there is a separate permission. Let me go here. So on the permission sets for the Einstein Analytics Plus admin, this might not have the actual permission that we're looking for, and that is called subscribe to tables. As you can see here, there's a separate subscription called subscribe to Einstein Analytics tables, and you need to create a permission set, maybe having only this one, and then assign it to the user. Then you should be able to subscribe in your environment to the actually get tables subscribed again to that subscription. Now, why this is a little bit different than the widget? Because in this case, when you subscribe the table, what you're gonna get is actually the CSV file attached in that email. So if for a minute here, imagine I have my subscriptions here, and if this was a table, this were a table, I would see the table name, and I will see the CSV file here, so I can click on the CSV file and download it. Now there are certain limits. The file cannot be more than 3 megs, and there's some other limit on number of tables per subscription, again just due to performance. And you can go to the help section and read more about it. But that's pretty much what you need to enable it for the table subscription. And again, don't forget, you're going to get the CSV versus the actual charts for subscribing charts, and that's for subscriptions. Now, another thing in the drop down that we saw, if I scroll up a little bit here, I can add these widgets, actually the widget, not the text, to a watch list. Now, when you say add to watch list, you can specify the metric name, you can specify the negative or positive, influence, or if it's coming up or increasing, is it a positive thing or negative thing? You can specify a reference line, and the reason for this is you are going to get again this particular metric under your watch list. A watch list is pretty much going to keep tracking your particular metric. So if you're tracking revenue, you're tracking total number of ops or closed or whatever it is, you can actually have your mini mini trending chart right here. So instead of going and looking where is it in which dashboard, you have a certain number of watch lists. You can change the order, and it's right there on your home screen, and it's a great feature again if you're tracking certain metrics. So keep that in mind. That's the watch list, and again, the way you enable it or you set it up, you just go to the metric you're looking for and kind of subscribe it to watch list. Okay, now the one more thing about collaboration I wanted to mention is the actual, let me go to edit mode here. For the widgets, we have an additional property or additional features called onboarding. And onboarding is pretty much you can add a direct link for a video. Let's say you have you want to describe this chart, or you want to describe how the calculation is happening from a business logic, etc. Anything, or even just to help on a certain widget or a certain chart. The way you do this is you go to you select the widget, you go to onboarding, and you might say a title or something, and you type the URL or embed the URL. Could be something on your org, or it could be a embedded YouTube video. So in this case, I am pointing to a embedded YouTube video. And the way the end user sees this is if I click on preview again, I will be able to see that option from that widget. So if I scroll down right here, I can click on the drop down. I see something that says learn. I can click on learn. I can see all of my learn resources on this dashboard, which are pretty much the onboarding videos or that onboarding widget property. I can click on this, and this will take me directly to the link. And in this case, it's just it's actually a video about compare tables and how compare tables work. Now, the reason I am going over this, just to point out that, because I've had this multiple times, folks asking about, as you can see, how do you embed the YouTube link? The link has to be a YouTube embedding video. So if you go to the onboarding again, you will notice that this is not your regular YouTube. It's just the direct YouTube link. It's actually the embedded link. So if you go to any YouTube video, you should be able to see that there's an option where it says give me my embedded link. So I'll show you to this really quick. Let's click on this one, for example. Pause this for a minute. Sorry, it's in the share. So in the share, you can see that you can go and copy the embed right here, and you can go and get just the URL from here, right here. And this is the way you can get this any YouTube embed video and go back to the widget and add it there. So with this, you should be able again to embed if you have a certain YouTube video. And again, this is just an example. It could be any other application, and that should be the onboarding option on the dashboard.